I come here because I live in Jerusalem and I am in shock and enraged about what is happening here.
There's not a very clear line between religion and nationalism. Unfortunately, and I even have to say this as a religious person, together they can be a very volatile and dangerous mix. I find here is the worst possible combination of nationalism and religion.
No, because you guys are a bunch of Nazis. Go back to Germany. You know what? We don't need Nazis here.
You hear that? Nazi. A Jew, a religious Jew calling another Jew a Nazi. That's the way they react. Nazi. That's a word that Jews don't use against
זה הארץ שלי. לך לאמריקה. לך לאמריקה. This is my home. This is my home.
And still today, the Palestinians live under military Israeli control. This is a film about 4 Israelis who want an end to more than 40 years of Israeli occupation.
אני לא קורא את המבט. אני מבקש, כל המתחם הזה, איפה? אני רוצה לקבל אותו. עכשיו, אני אקל עליך בהסבר. איפה זה? איפה זה? איפה אותו? זה כאן, זה שם? כמה מטר מכאן זה? כמה מטר מכאן זה?
If the Palestinians will be afraid that the IDF is all the time everywhere, they'll be afraid to attack us.
Demonstrations against the wall often turn violent. They quickly erupt with stone throwing and gunfire. It is mostly the protesters who are seriously injured. Sometimes protesters get killed.
What we're doing here right now is trying to block the path of the wall and try and disrupt the construction that will resume tomorrow somewhat. We're standing at the path of the wall right now. There's we're about 4 or 5 kilometers into the West Bank, outside of Israel's internationally recognized border. The International Court of Justice in The Hague ruled that this path, the construction of this barrier is illegal, but Israel continues building it.
60 to 70% of what I did as a combat soldier in the occupied territories was to do with deterrence, with, doing what we call making our presence felt. You go out, shoot some bullets to the hair, knock on some doors, run to the other corner, invade another house.
The problem is that when you meet the individual people with the individual problems, your heart just breaks, that for some stupid reason that you didn't bring your original birth certificate for your 16-year-old daughter, but only a photocopy. It's crazy.
Unfortunately, throughout history, religion and nationalism, not just Judaism, have been a part of the problem. They've been part of what leads to bloodshed and countless, from my point of view, desecrations of God's name.
Jag anser att det är en judisk stat och att vi har kommit till för att stanna. Därför att vi har ett bibliskt löfte som var och en kan läsa i Bibeln sedan 4000 år tillbaka. Att det här landet är Guds land utlovat till det judiska folket.
Now, it is true, of course, that if you look in the Bible, you cannot escape the fact that God promises the entire land of Israel, including the West Bank, the occupied territories, to the Jewish people in perpetuity.
The settler children are protected by Israeli soldiers, and parents often encourage their young to attack Palestinians.
You see? But if you wanna bomb Gaza and kill 1,400 people in a month, and you want to expect that this will have no effect in Tel Aviv.
And so there may be a paradox here, that the very acts that are necessary to continue the occupation are the very ones that make us morally unfit to be there.
You have to be either extremely naive or extremely stupid. Sometimes, in some cases, you choose unjust means because they're the only means that you have. I'm not in that situation. I can tell you, I do not support suicide attacks. But I'm not in the position where I have, luckily, I'm not in the position where I have to make that choice. In my position, I make my choice, and it is to support the civilian insurrection of Palestinians against Israeli oppression. Kid who was killed last Friday was the 18th person to be killed in anti-war demonstrations. I think 10 or 11 of those killed were minors and under 18. And I think it's important to remember that they were all killed in demonstrations where demonstrators have never used guns, have never used any arms. Another one was a 17-year-old that was shot as he was standing in the street looking at the clashes. And he was just murdered for absolutely no reason but being present at a demonstration that the soldiers did not like. For me, it's a motivation. For me, we can't stop now.
You're not afraid?
Of course I'm afraid. Violence definitely does have an effect. I mean, I think you'd have to be very naive to claim that you exist in a very violent situation where a lot of very extreme violence is directed towards you and your environment and the people you care about, and to say that it doesn't affect you. Obviously, everyone's afraid to die and is afraid to get hurt, but being part of something, of a struggle worth dying for, is something worth living for.
Everything I do with my grandchildren is definitely directed to some kind of a effort to make them into beautiful people. When I really think about her when she's 18, I can imagine that Israel is so stubborn and so difficult that it will be like today. On the other hand, because I come from the Czech Republic, in 1989 what happened in Europe was totally unpredicted, totally unexpected, total surprise. So I hope, so that is also something that's relevant in some way. So I hope that maybe maybe, you know. That maybe there will be peace by the time she grows up, you know. I will take them to see other countries, to be able to see that there's another way. I will expose them to everything that can help them to formulate a liberal, open-minded worldview, and to be sensitive to people who suffer and who are different and all of that, you know? Right? Da, 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 da. So when I see these kids playing war games, I definitely will do everything to prevent them from playing them. And that is like my attempt to make them into thinking, sensitive people, and with my naive maybe belief that all of that will contribute to his maybe even refusing to go to the army. He may not, I don't know.
There is one very sensitive issue for Israeli peace activists: family discussion about the occupation. Rarely, if ever, are outsiders allowed to know about sensitive political discussions within the family.
I think we need to look at the future and expect that in 15 years' time, Shachar will be carrying a gun. It will be a modern gun, and he'll have more technology to kill terrorists.
Maybe he won't kill. Maybe he won't want to kill. Maybe he will want to be.
He won't have a choice.
No, he may decide to do something else.
They might have to kill Arabs.
I hope not.
But they will.
I hope not. Well, I'm so horrified by the prospect of my sweet little grandchild, you know, killing anybody, that I don't want to talk about it.
My mother has her activities, which I'm in favor of. I mean, I don't think that Mahsumot is a bad organization. They're there to try and help the roadblocks be more humane.
And and as a political statement to oppose occupation. It says so on our tag. You can't always blame them. You know, because our settlers are perceived by the Palestinian people exactly like we perceive Hamas. Our settlers say, never will we leave.
I didn't say the situation was easy. I said that when I look at my son and I imagine him when he's 18, I don't think the situation will be solved.
They say the Arabs can be there without any human rights, you know, they can live there.
That's something else, but they can be there. Hamas says, you can't be here.
Okay.
No rights, no nothing.
Well,
get out of here. There's a jihad against us. You need to be dead. Okay, slaughtered.
Okay.
Because you're a pig. You're a Jewish pig.
He feels very strong for his country. And there's one area of our lives that we can't share or discuss. And that is hard. You know, when I was sitting here listening to him, I wasn't filled with pleasure, you know, at hearing it. And he said it like a real provocative way that, you know, my son will kill the Arabs.
December 2008, Israel attacks the Gaza Strip. 1,400 Palestinians and 13 Israelis are killed. Most of the casualties are civilians. Breaking the Silence has interviewed several Israeli soldiers, giving testimony about abuse and excessive use of force.
This is a testimony of 1, 2, 3, 4, 500 people. One after the other, this is what they've done. Abusing Palestinians on a daily basis, looting, destroying property, killing, whatever comes up in the testimonies. You can come from a different world and start to describe the stories as war crimes, as that. I know one thing. This is what we've done.
Testimonies about excessive use of force are met with silence and denied in Israel.
I don't think silence is an Israeli disease. Silence is a human sickness. Okay, we're not when you don't look good, you don't confront a mirror. We prefer to continue our life without knowing this.
אזרחים שתומכים עליכם דם ילדים! אזרחים שתומכים עליכם דם ילדים! לא ירוק, לא פחות! מסרבות להיות רוצחות! לא ירוק, לא פחות! מסרבות להיות רוצחות!
The Israeli attack on Gaza, according to the Israeli press, was supported by 90% of the Israelis. Jonathan Pollack participates in several demonstrations against the Gaza war.
I think you have to understand that this element of Israeli society does exist, the fascist, extreme right, and it's growing and it's strengthening. But there really is a democracy for Jews in Israel. It's being limited more and more with time, but as we speak now, there really is a democracy for Jews in Israel. But it's not really a democracy, it's an ethnocracy. Because if you're Jewish, you have certain democratic rights, and if you're not Jewish, these rights are much lessened. And if you're a Palestinian resident of the occupied territories, you're under a completely different legal system.
Israeli right-wing extremists and nationalists from the organization Im Tirtzu are demonstrating against Jonathan Pollack and other activists during a demonstration against the wall. Members of Im Tirtzu encouraged soldiers to shoot anti-wall protesters in the head.
We are here to protest against the violence of the anarchists. The anarchists are both Israeli and international activists. They call themselves peace activists. They have nothing to do with peace. They don't want peace. They are about anarchy, and that's it.
Occupation is a very bad word. I mean, of course they use this word because it's a very extreme terminology. We're not occupants. We're not occupants.
Currently, as we speak, I'm facing 6 indictments, and I've faced 3 more before. Either I get acquitted or I get convicted. Either I stay free or I spend some time in jail. We'll see. It's part of reality. You want to sit at home and not do anything, it's understandable. But if you want to get out, and I think for one to live, you have to get out and do something about what you see in the world around you, then here and now, this is what we have.
My concern is whether something is moral or not, whether something fits within my moral boundaries or not, whether something is right or wrong. And I think a very important thing to understand for us is that people who have done very, very bad things don't have horns. They look like me. They look like you. You know, I fired every night dozens of grenades into neighborhoods where people live. I use Palestinians as human shields. You know, all the things that I can tell you, and then you'll be shocked. It's me, and we're sitting now in the same room. If you want to put in jail every Israeli soldier who abused the Palestinians, so all my generation should go to jail. Stand in one long line, left, right, marching into jail. Because we all did this in different levels, in different ways, in different, you know. But no one who was there came out clean. No one who served there has clean hands.